Hello, this is BioEnchanted, and I've had quite a fun idea for a video. I know it's been a while, I've been quite busy. I kind of want to break down the characters in The Boys, because as of Season 4, Homelander has kind of formed a new Olympus, and so I kind of want to point out a few other fun parallels between the characters in the show and the characters in Greek mythology. Some of them gods, some of them not. Depending on how they interact with each other, but also their general positions. The obvious one being Homelander being Zeus. He's the most powerful of them all, but has severe issues when it comes to consent and things like that. He's terrible. And that, of course, makes Ryan Heracles, whose mother was immortal, assaulted by Homelander. So, of course, that fits Heracles' origin as well. And is therefore a product trapped between worlds. He, of course, completes the Pantheon by bringing Sage into the tower as of Season 4, Sage being Athena, goddess of wisdom, but of course she uses her wisdom for warfare, for causing problems so she can take tactical advantage. So that fits her quite nicely. Maeve used to be Hera before she fled Olympus, in this metaphor, because of course she was Homelander's sort of, at least played as being Homelander's girlfriend, even though she wasn't at all. But that was her position, at least, was to be Homelander's right hand. Of course, Starlight gets brought in almost like an Aphrodite kind of figure because she's traditionally attractive, beloved by many, has a reputation, but her reputation differs based on who's discussing her, because some consider her unfairly promiscuous based on some rumours that spread throughout the show. The Deep is the obvious Poseidon. And there's a couple of less obvious but kind of fun ones after A-Train, who is Hermes, because obviously he's very fast and helps Huey with medical things at times by delivering him V, so that actually fits quite nicely with the god of medicine. But for the other two brothers of Zeus, we have Black Noir as Ares, who's mainly known for being exceedingly violent, in most of the seasons at least. His entire thing is just ultra-violence, that's kind of his entire gimmick. And Tech Knight is the less liked brother of the other two, not literally, of course, but in this case, was like brother in arms, but shunned from the Seven, and therefore he now runs the prisons because of his family business. So he effectively is Hades, the less liked brother of the other two, who is kind of forced into a position of less grandiosity, but who has quite a lot more influence because of it. And if you expand that, that means that the room that the main characters end in Gen V, is actually Tartarus, as that is a special prison put aside for what Voight has branded as the worst monsters, unfairly. So, of course, if we bring in the characters from Gen V, that means Marie Moreau is effectively Medusa. She started as a normal person, but with somewhat scary powers, but she got marked and branded a monster by Homelander. Very similar to one of Medusa's many origins, where one of them is her getting attacked by Zeus. Or at least by someone. I'm not entirely certain it is Zeus in most of the stories, but that's a version I've heard anyway. Because of that's Medusa actually is ironically in ancient Greece she was used to mark certain women's shelters as a protective thing, because of her status as a woman who was a victim of someone else. She's not a god, of course, but that's just the character that fits her situation the best, as a victim of the gods. Kate would be Lyssa because she targets specific people and can make them do things they otherwise wouldn't, which isn't quite rabies, because that's what Lyssa is. Lyssa is a goddess of rabies and just general madness and mad violence. But she's used by the dean of the school in a similar way to how this was actually used in the myth, in that she targets specific people and messes with them on contract. And then for Polarity and his son, they could be seen almost as Daedalus and Icarus, because they require a lot of finesse for how to use their powers most effectively, and are shown to be very artistic and very intelligent with how they play with them. But, of course, Polarity is a man whose son is in danger of killing himself if he follows in his footsteps because of the nature of how their powers work. Bit of a stretch, but some of these characters are harder. Luke, fire powers, Helios, fire and flying, that just kind of fits. Firecracker's a fun one. I initially was thinking of her as a replacement Aphrodite, but then I realised, no, Firecracker is not Aphrodite. Firecracker is Eris. She sows discord using her web show to turn people against one another. Everything she does and says is calculated specifically to piss everyone else off, which is a fun sort of parallel there as well. That's all the ones I can currently think of. Some of them a bit of a stretch, but I just thought this would be a fun video. It was a bit different to what I normally do, because I really enjoyed this show, and it's kind of fun to try and figure out where certain characters could potentially fall. Like, there's an argument to be made that Soldier Boy could potentially be looking at Perseus, because he has a bunch of tools that were given to him by the more powerful entities, and is kind of been, because of being a war hero, he's been sent after many different difficult quests to deal with. Like, he's been sent after many different monsters. So there's a bit of a thing you can say there as well. If anyone else has any fun variants, do mention in the comments, or fun ideas for other alternative interpretations, do let me know in the comments, because I would like to hear what other people think about what other characters could fit in certain other locations. So, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and check out my Patreon as well. Speaking of, thank you to James Rossi for supporting me on Patreon.